Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods. If you can see what's going on behind me here, today we start stacking some blocks. Before we get into stacking some blocks, you can see we got a few things to do here. Aaron's moving about 13,000 pounds of stone here. As you saw from the last video, I moved about maybe a quarter of the basement, but she's gonna go ahead and take care of the other 3/4 right now. You can see me there in the background. I'm going ahead and digging under the footers to go ahead and get the pipe in so that we can run for the French drain, which you'll be seeing that come up here in a little bit. But again, right now we're just spreading that stone, getting under that footer, and getting ready to put that sump pump kind of catch basin in there, and then we'll go ahead and be actually taking care of this water situation that we've got going on. We also got all of the stone finished here, basically right through this line here. I don't know if you can tell, but we did have to use some of the stone that my friend Adam brought over and had to put in here since we ran short. Again, we ordered 18,000 pounds when we should have ordered 18 yards. So we were about 3 yards short. So I basically just set some ramps up here, dumped the stone down in here with the tractor, and then we did this. I think Aaron probably did, oh gosh, 60 to 70% of this. She wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow, she took all of this over, dumped it, and spread it. I only did that corner over there, and I think I did kind of this corner in here. She basically did everything else. So that girl moved, I'd say at least 13,000 pounds of stone this weekend. You can see we also got the sump pump in. Got a 22-gallon sump pump, and if I can lean over here, you can see the 6-inch French drain is going in through there. And right now we just got it set up as a T, so that way we can get our heights, because that's going to be the absolute lowest spot. So now we know that we need to start running uphill that way, and we know we need to run uphill that way, and that corner of the garage is probably going to be the highest, because you're going to have to go uphill this way and uphill over there. So everything's going to funnel down into this corner here. It was kind of a pain in the butt to tunnel under there 25 inches through absolute concrete clay, but my dad let me borrow this one little shovel here. It's like a half shovel with a curved blade. You just punch it in and give it a twist, and it kind of knocks chunks off, so it wasn't too bad. But I've got a 6-inch T here. There's an adapter piece that connects to a 90, and then I think there's about a 40-inch long piece here that goes from the bottom of that 90 all the way into the sump pump, and it sticks in there, I don't know, as you can see, 3-4 inches or so. I could probably cut that back. I'll probably silicone the inside of it too. If I don't do that though, it's probably not the end of the world, because that pipe there does have holes on the bottom. So any water that gets down and around in here that doesn't make its way into the French drain, because this is like the complete lowest part right now. So water hits here, runs down here, and actually goes underneath of this stone here. It's going to eventually hit that bottom pipe in there, filter up through the holes and work its way in. So it kind of bypasses the French drain, but that's fine. Even if those holes become completely clogged one day with clay, and if all of this comes clogged with clay and water can no longer get in there, worst case scenario, it just filters up through the pipe here, and it filters up through the pipe here into the holes, makes its way into the T, and then is taken in. So right now there's actually inch or so of water from water that was running here and water that was running here and made its way through the stone. So it's actually working right now without any pipe at all. I'm just cleaning off the top of the footer here. Obviously you got to make it as clean as possible, because when we go ahead and put this first row down, we're actually spray foaming it to the concrete, and that is what makes that first row not shift left or right. You're basically gluing it down, and you got to have a good clean surface without any dust. So what I'm doing on mine, which I think most people recommend anyway, is you take these HV clips, and at every seam you go ahead and hook it in, and then you push down until it locks in. And I think Fox recommends only doing one of them in the middle, but for the first row I'm gonna do two, so that way you overdo the seam on both sides and lock that down. And then as you can see, the rebar, the first row, is laying all the way down in there, and we're pulling it up, and then we'll also put one here on the top. And then for the next row, every time we go up, there's going to be one piece of rebar laying in the middle on top. We're also wire tying the rebar, so that way it's not falling down on this side. And then again, we'll wire tie the rebar that goes on top. We'll wire tie it at the end of one, and then 30 inches down at that end, so that way it's all one continuous piece of rebar. All right, so there you have one complete row. As you can see, again, rebar down on the bottom. Another one will go up on top. I decided to use dual HV clips connecting each seam. Now these HV clips are reversible, so you'll put them down horizontally in the middle from here on up at every seam, but you also turn them vertically, so when you have the next row that overlaps this seam going this way, on this one or this one, you'll take an HV clip and push in vertically. That way you lock the second row to the first row and all the way up. So these HV clips are for the blocks don't separate this way, and so the blocks don't separate this way when you're pouring the concrete. Before I go ahead and glue this row, this wall does still need centered up. I still have to plumb bob down on this string here to find my corner on each end. I'll just put a stake in the ground here, tie a string, run it all the way down to a stake down there. So don't worry, as you can see, I went kind of fast there to try and get all 8 of those in, plus the corner down here. So don't worry, it's not 100% set. I'm not gonna glue it yet. That's just getting the wall set, getting all the HV clips and that bottom rebar in. Now I can come through with the top rebar, and again, in a little bit, I'll run a string line down here and plumb, because these strings here and here will help us when we get up higher. But as we plumb bob down, that'll get these first row here completely squared and set up. Hey everybody, welcome back. I know it's been a few days. I haven't been recording too much. We're gonna go ahead and put a whole bunch of video together that I do have all together into this one video. But basically the last few days we've just been stacking blocks. I've got the French drain in. Go ahead and show you here now. The French drain in completely all the way around the entire property. Come on, focus. We got it going back to the sump pump here, and as you can see, we've just been stacking blocks. Right now, We've got the garage on its last row in the front here. We've got 5 rows high, and I know if you go down the ground level, that looks crazy high, but it's supposed to be. The more blocks we get up above the ground, the warmer the garage is going to be. I am going to complete the entire 5th row all the way across, and then today what we're going to go do is we've got a quote here from Home Depot for Andersen windows and doors. We're going to go check out JELD-WEN now though, at a local company who supplies them. They say it's one of their top brands, and we're just going to compare prices. I think we're going to look at the JELD-WEN sight line, and right now we've got the quote here from Andersen for the 400 series. I'm pretty sure the JELD-WEN are going to be a lot more expensive. I don't think the 400 series is Andersen's top of the line, but we're going to go ahead and compare anyway and check them out. But once we get all of the doors finalized with what company we're going to go with and the garage doors, then right through here for the double car garage and the single car garage, I'll go ahead and cut down, cut over, and back up for each one of those doors to go in, because obviously we're not backfilling this driveway. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but that's at least I'd say 4 feet. This driveway is not going to have a 4-foot taper all the way back. We're only going to go up about 6 to 8 inches to where we are right now. So definitely we have to cut way down over and then back up. And then the rest of this garage, remember, will be 12 foot high, and it'll be traditional stick frame with probably Hubert zip systems. I don't know if I'll just use the Hubert zip system or if I'll go with the Hubert Zip R, which will give a little bit of insulation on the outside of the studs before you get into the internal insulation. That way every stud location is insulated, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But again, right now we're on our way to go and get a quote for the JELD-WEN windows, and then we'll come back tonight and keep plugging away at this. My goal tonight is to get the entire garage done with all 5 levels. I think we're gonna run out of rebar that I got from my dad's friend that was free. So I did place an order last night for 200 more pieces at Menards that I'll have to go pick up. I don't know if that'll be today though, but and as you can see, the house is on its 2nd row and 3rd row that connects to the garage. So we still got a lot to go, but I really want to get these windows quoted and get them sized appropriately, because right in about here and right in about here, we've got basement windows that are going for the egress. And if you take a look at the French drains over here, you can see that below each one of those windows is a T along with the clean out over there, and each one of these are going to come up and sit down inside of that egress window, so when it rains, inside of that little U-shaped I don't know what you call it, kind of catch basin almost, if you will, that you backfill with rocks and stuff. The point of that is that when it rains, water goes down and sits on top of that stone in that little like U-shaped egress spot, so that when you open the window, you step up onto the stones, but it's easier to get into a lower level on those stones and then step up onto the grass. But you'll have that like U-shaped metal or plastic catch basin thing that water can drain into, and there'll be a drain right in the middle of those stones that will not allow that window sill area to flood. It'll sit in that little catch basin area, hit that pipe and go down to the French drain, and then be taken back out, so that way you're not flooding below your windows. So I got to get those sized appropriately, so I know where to cut those ICF blocks to get the windows sitting in right. And on this quote here, we actually don't have those 2 basement windows sized appropriately for egress. They're just like basement windows. I just said, give me this size for length and height. But the county is actually very specific that the window needs to be a certain square area and so many inches off of the ground on the inside. So I need to go give that to JELD-WEN and get a window sized appropriately. So we're on our way now. Let's go see how much this is going to cost. If I'm not mistaken, windows and doors are probably going to be at least, I I'd say more than 1/3 the entire build of getting the exterior done and finalized. So it is not going to be cheap. So a little scared here, but we'll see when we get back. It's another new day again. I didn't record yesterday when we went and saw windows because we actually ended up being out kind of late last night. Basically, we went and looked at Geldwin. The company that we went to is a third party. So Geldwin sells to them, they sell to us. We looked at the Streamline or Streamlight series, and we also looked at the Sahara Pacific, I think it is. Either way, I think they're going to be out of our price range. The box stores sell Geldwin, but when we went to, where did we go to first? We went to Home Depot. They only carried up to the 6500 series. Now, I'm not a Geldwin expert, but I think 6500 is like kind of the max that gets sold to box stores. And then you go up to the Sahara Pacific. Then you get up to like the Streamlight. Then there's a new line coming out called the Aurora. And then you can get up all the way into custom. So to me, that tells me the box stores aren't selling the greatest of windows if you're already so many tiers down. However, we went back to Home Depot again and we looked at Andersen, and the Andersens before we looked at on that piece of paper that I showed you was the 400 series. Now, Andersen does carry the A series. If we went to an Andersen dealer, it may actually be down on the list. I'm not sure, but at least from the brochure from Home Depot, it says that Andersen A series is the best window that they make. So whether or not that's true, whether that's Home Depot's best of the best, or if it's not the best from Andersen, I'll have to look online and look. But we had some windows priced out in the A series, and I'm actually quite surprised. The price is not that bad. I wasn't really sticker shocked at anything. And the other thing that I noticed was the U factor, which is kind of like your R value, your insulation value, is actually very low. It's a 0.20. And the solar heat reflection, like how much it blocks, that was actually pretty low too, at a 0.21, I think. I believe low is better for both. The reflective heat value, I think I'd have to go back and look at that again, but I think that means it blocks up to 81% of UV, so that's pretty good, as opposed to like a 0.31, which the 400 series was, meaning there's 10% more UV light that's coming in and can be damaging your carpet and furniture and stuff like that. So I think the A series may be what we're going with. We also went ahead and decided to change from just doing a double hung, because double hungs, they move a lot. Basically, you've got two pieces of a double hung. You've got the bottom piece that can go up and down, and the top can come down a little bit so you can bring it down to clean it. That makes for a window that has a lot of movement since there's so many moving parts. You've got a frame, an up and down for both, and then there's a joint there. We decided to go no more double hung, even though the double hungs that we were looking at were basically 2/3 open, and then 1/3 would have like grills in them, which would set off a window that we're looking at that's basically over 6 foot tall. We decided to go with casement instead. Casements are full 1 unit, and they're the ones that have the hand crank on the bottom. So the entire window will open out, and then you hand crank it back in, and then there's a lock that locks it all the way down on the side. We decided to go with that because it's one fixed unit. Then when it actually is closed and like wind is blowing on it, it makes for a very tight seal. In fact, when wind is blowing on it, it's actually pushing the entire window in more into its seam, which makes it that much more closed, as opposed to a double hung. The top may be getting pushed in, or the bottom may be getting pushed in more, and you're kind of having that middle break where a double hung is. So I think casement's the way to go, especially because we've got windows. Again, I think we ended up going with 74 inches now for the entire window. That's pretty tall. So to have as solid of a structure as we can get, bigger the better. We also decided on going 3 feet wide. Now, what surprises me is that Home Depot can sell these windows at 1.5 feet and the genuine Geldwin dealer said that, you know, they're going to be more expensive from us than if you were to go to Home Depot or Menards. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really make sense, because we're not picking just a shelf or a window right off the shelf. You don't have 74-inch windows on there that are 3 feet wide, that are custom black inside, outside, and the crank and all the hardware. That's would be a custom window anyway, even though we're picking sizes that are off the shelf just from a drop-down menu. But we're talking windows that can get crazy tall and crazy wide, or even crazy thin. Again, that's not a window just made off the shelf. Yes, Home Depot can supply it, but that's going to be a window for us and only for us. So I don't know what the guy was talking about, but again, I think the Anderson A-line is going to be the way to go. And with the black on black on black, I think they're going to look awesome. What we ended up finishing today is just a lot more stacking. This is the garage now completely done. We're at 5 layers tall. I did have to go ahead and switch out the upper blocks. I forgot. If I can show you here, the normal blocks have 2 5/8 of foam on each side, and that's what this corner has. However, on all of the top blocks for the garage, the basement, and for where the roof trusses are going to be, we went with the taper blocks. Now, obviously, as you can see, you lose a lot of insulation value. I mean, it does taper back out down there, so you regain insulation. And obviously, you've got a lot of insulation still within here. This is still the same 2 5/8. But this extra concrete that's going to go in here gives a lot more support for the sill seal that will be in the garage. It's going to be a lot more support when we go ahead and put in our brackets for the porch and for the floor trusses that are going across when those brackets get pushed into the wall. That's just a lot more concrete that's going to be holding on to those brackets than if you just had it in here. So again, you lose a little bit of insulation value just on one block tall, but I think it's going to be a much better secure system going all the way around the perimeter of the garage and going all the way around the perimeter of the house, both for the basement to first floor and the first floor up to the roof trusses. We got to block number 6 here, and I know this probably doesn't look great on camera, but to me, I mean, look at that step ladder there. You can see just how much more you have to go to get up to the top of that, and that's only 6 blocks tall. We still have 2 more blocks to go on the basement, and then the house is also getting 8 blocks. So 10'8" is pretty crazy of a height. Unfortunately, we may be on hold here after a while, because those HV clips that I was talking about that go here, that connect 2 seams and 2 HV clips that connect that corner right there and right there, the ones that go vertical, so that this panel here can't rise up. We're actually quickly running out. I ordered 1,000, and I thought 1,000 of them would go ahead and complete the garage and the basement. So I think we're gonna run out of the HV clips before we end up using all the panels. And this is all the panels left. So we've got 4 more walls to go up all the way around here, and then 2 more up here, and then we should be complete. I do have to go to storage tomorrow. I ran out of the taper blocks. There's just 2 or 3 more taper blocks that need to go there to complete the garage, and then there's that back wall there for the taper blocks that need to finish, and then the garage will be complete after we get the upper rebar in there. So almost there. But I think the biggest thing that's really gonna suck is I went ahead and already placed the order at Menards to get the HV clips from Fox. The blocks themselves take a really long time to get here, but hopefully just a little box, you know, that you can pick up with one hand for those clips. Hopefully they get here. I ordered 5 this time. On top of the 4 that I already had, there's 250 in a box. And like I said, we're almost out. But the fact that we're not going to have a garage now, because we're done here at this level, we'll definitely have enough out of those 5 boxes to finish the basement. And then that should leave me with roughly 4 boxes left to go ahead and do the first floor. But may have to still order more of those, but before we can pour concrete, I need all those blocks and I need to get them here and installed. So hopefully Fox ships to Menards super quick, and then Menards calls me and says, hey, they're ready for pickup. Some other things that we ended up getting today, we got all the 2x4s that we needed that I'm going to go ahead and cut down. Those are going to be where all of the common seams are, where blocks come together that you had to make a cut to get them to fit. That right there is going to need a 2x4 that goes across, that needs screwed in and braced, so that way that seam doesn't fall apart. And we also went ahead and picked up the rest of the rebar. We pretty much, once again, took everything from Menards. I calculated from those 49 pieces that my dad's friend Paul gave me that I needed 200 more. So that was about another $1,100 in rebar. But this rebar here should complete the garage and the basement, both horizontals and all the verticals that still need to put in. And then the other thing that we got was a bunch of 2x12s, and the 2x12s are going to be for the side basement windows, so that we frame down, over, up, and over, so the basement obviously won't collapse in that hole where the window's going to go when the concrete's getting poured. And if that wood stays good enough, then we can go ahead and use that for actually doing the windows. Now, Fox recommends using what's called a Fox buck. Basically, it's a 2-inch piece of foam, and all the way in that foam, all the way up and around, is their plastic reinforcement, where when you go ahead and set your window in, you screw through your window and hit that piece of plastic. I've heard from people that Fox buck isn't the greatest thing, so we are going to lose a little bit of insulation value by not having that 11¼ inches for the basement windows and 9¼ inches around all of the windows and doors for the first floor. But if you calculate that 1.5 inches around all of the windows and doors, we're not losing that much insulation, but it is obviously dropping you down to like basically an R11 or an R9 around your window and door, since that is a piece of wood and not the Fox buck, which is all foam. So I would rather have a solid nailing surface for that window to go straight into an actual piece of lumber, that if I miss a hole or the screw tries to strip out, it's simple to repair wood. It's not really easy to repair plastic reinforcement straps and foam. So I think once we get the windows in, we'll have those 2x12s reinforcing the window, and then we're going to go ahead and use liquid flashing to basically liquid flash that wood to the foam, put a liquid flash behind the wood where the concrete's going to get poured, so that way the wood's not directly touching concrete, and then that'll all be waterproof and flashed in. But again, I know Fox wants you to use their Fox bucks, but I think traditional lumber is the way to go on that. That should wrap this video up here. I think we got enough footage. Again, it's Saturday. I think we posted last Saturday, so we should have enough footage to show you guys throughout the week here. Obviously, we made a lot of progress at the beginning of the week. I don't even think I had one block up, and we were already 4, 5, and 6, and 5 throughout the garage. So not bad for a week. I did have my dad out here today, and I did have my friend Rob out here help me with a few things earlier in the week when I put in the French drain. So I think the majority of the back breaking hard work is over. This stuff's pretty easy. It's just labor intensive to just keep stacking blocks and putting in clips and rebar, but it's not back breaking. It's not that difficult. It just takes forever. But again, we'll go ahead and wrap this video up here. I hope you guys are enjoying the progress as much as we are. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the video and want to see more content. Turn the bell on so you get notified, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for stopping by.